Chapter 80 Peerless Hegemonic Intent. On the side, the old blacksmith's face was also very ugly as he exclaimed, "This is impossible. It's absolutely impossible for this brat to have risen 3 levels in a row in just 7 days." He clearly did not believe this fact. "Haha, old man, I think you'd better obediently go back and prepare to build shovels for this young lady." Zhao Linga laughed triumphantly, a sly glint in her large, crescent-curved eyes. HMPH, little girl, don't get complacent too early. Even if this kid rises 3 levels in a row, the gap between him and Wu Gang can't be bridged. I don't believe that he'll be able to cross over and defeat the same genius, Overlord Warrior Wu Gang. The old blacksmith gritted his teeth and said, even though he normally disdained Wu Gang, he had to speak up for him at a time like this. "Old man, just keep talking tough." Zhao Linga skimmed her mouth. The old blacksmith wanted to say more, but he was interrupted by an explosive sound, only to see that, on the martial arts arena, 2 invincible domineering auras rose up to the sky and collided with each other in the sky. And boundless pressure swept across the entire martial arts arena. The great battle suddenly erupted. Everyone stopped talking, and their gazes all looked towards the 2 people holding each other in the martial arts arena. On the large square, Wu Gang stuck his spear on the ground and blasted his fist towards Kang Chon. The terrifying true essence formed a huge shadow of light in midair and blasted towards Kang Chon. He didn't want to take advantage of Kang Chon, so he didn't use his spear. Kang Chon's true essence surged down his body. Purple light enveloped his entire body. He coldly watched Wu Gang, who blasted at him with a fist. His blade-like eyes were incomparably calm. He fully explored the weaknesses in Wu Gang's body and prepared to attack with all his might. While Wu Gang dared to underestimate him, he would not underestimate Wu Gang. He laughed coldly. "Dare to use your fist against me? Use your shortcomings to battle my strengths. This battle you lose on carelessness." After speaking, Kang Chon similarly blasted out with his fist, the thick true essence boiling out. The terrifying energy swept out, sweeping across the entire fighting arena. HMPH. Wu Gang laughed coldly. He was proficient in spear technique, but he also knew boxing. More importantly, the cultivation gap between Kang Chon and him was too large. He did not believe that the other party could receive his full force punch. Boom! In midair, the 2 huge forces finally collided. Unrivaled energy immediately swept through the entire space. Waves of general vastness of power. In the entire martial arts arena, in the vastness of more than. The crowd outside the arena suddenly felt the earth tremble. Everyone exclaimed in shock. It seemed that the entire fighting arena was trembling. Suddenly, a figure flew backwards out of the chaotic air currents of the engagement. His face was full of shame and anger. The corners of his mouth overflowed with threads of blood, and his complexion roared with rage. Good one, Kang Chon. Our Wu Gang underestimated you. Overlord Guncum." The crowd immediately exclaimed in shock. This person was actually Wu Gang, and looking at Wu Gang's current wretched appearance, it seems that just now he was at the disadvantage of a punch. How is this possible? The crowd was puzzled in their hearts. At the time, when the crowd was puzzled, Kang Chon also took a big step out. His whole body was covered with purple light. His icy cold gaze swept in and coldly said, "I said, this battle you will lose under carelessness." The crowd was shocked. Kang Chon's whole body was surging with true essence. Just now in a fist fight, he even finished defeating Wu Gang, which made them very puzzled. Was Wu Gang's strength weakened, or was Kang Chon's strength beyond the crowd's expectations? But no matter how, Kang Chon was able to injure Wu Gang with 1 punch. This strength is enough to be proud of the young generation of the great Tan cultivation world. It is really a battle to become famous. On the vast martial arts arena, the heat of the day, the crowd was fully concentrated on watching a peak youth duel in front of them. For Kang Chon to injure the domineering warrior Wu Gang with a single punch, everyone was shocked and puzzled. On the high floor, the old man in blue was also shocked. Could a miracle really happen? The old blacksmith on the side had a very ugly face. Only the little girl cheered loudly. The crowd watching the battle had different looks. Surprised, puzzled and shocked people abounded. In the martial arts arena, Wu Gang's eyes were glowing with anger, but he gradually calmed down. As a peak youth powerhouse, he wasn't an idiot who only knew how to fight. The lesson of carelessness just now had let him know that the youth in front of him wasn't simple, and he wouldn't make the same mistake again. Hey, I didn't think that in the Great Tang cultivation world, apart from the Imperial Capital 4 and the Great Tang 7, there is still a youth expert like you. I admit that I have underestimated you, but next I will treat you as a true opponent. You will never have a single chance again. Wu Gangsen laughed coldly. He pulled up the lance that was stuck on the ground. The black lance was surprisingly flickering with a cold, morose light. This was definitely a powerful magic treasure. Draw your sword, you are worthy of my spear. Wu Gang pointed his lance horizontally at Kang Chan and said in a cold voice. A domineering aura followed his voice. Kang Chan shook his head and said, I still say, today you are destined to lose under carelessness. If you are sensible, you should withdraw from the fight now, otherwise you will lose ugly. Wu Gang was the hegemonic warrior of the 7 Great Tang warriors, the peak youth expert of the Great Tang cultivation realm. But to be belittled like this, his lungs literally exploded with rage. He pointed his spear at the heavens and laughed in anger. Fine, fine. When I nail you to the ground, let's see if you are still so arrogant. Kang Chan sighed and shook his head, saying, You and I are both comprehending hegemony. We should know that hegemony is invincible and unrelenting. Right now your state of mind has been broken, and there is not the slightest bit of hegemony anymore. If we fight again, you are bound to lose. He was right. Those who possessed hegemonic chi tended to gain the upper hand in battle, going forward and being invincible. But once they suffered a setback, it would be difficult to pull back. However, Kang Chan obviously underestimated the anger in Wu Gang's heart. As one of the 7 heroes of the Great Tang, it was already a disgrace for him to lose to a nameless youth in public. Did he still want him to retreat without a fight? Then the entire Great Tang cultivation world would have to laugh at him. Ha 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 ha. Wu Gang laughed madly. His lance pointed at the sky and coldly said, In front of my hegemonic warrior, you dare to talk about hegemony. You are looking for death. After saying that, Wu Gang's whole body's true essence bulged up and poured into the long spear along his arm. And at that moment, the black long spear bloomed with a gorgeous light, and a nearly Zhong spear on ****** came out, releasing a senile killing opportunity. His feet stepped on the mysterious steps. His speed was strangely fast, and the lance in his hand manifested countless gun shadows, killing towards Kang Chan. All moves were killing moves. Obviously the anger in his heart was already flourishing. The footwork is good, but it's a pity that the spear is too bad. Kang Chan laughed coldly. The thick true essence in his body surged out, following his fists and erupting in a brilliant light. He activated his Overlord Fist to fight hard with Wu Gang. Between the wide openings, the air currents flew, the forceful chi raged, and the volatile energy hovered and stirred in the entire space. Wu Gang's face became more and more gloomy. Kang Chan's boxing technique made him scared. His gun technique was the family heirloom of the Overlord Fist. Together with his overbearing aura, there were rarely any opponents among his peers. But he gradually realized that Kang Chan's boxing was even more domineering than his gunplay. Each punch carried the aura of looking out of the corner of one's eye. This can't be possible. Amongst my peers, there is no one who knows more about domineering aura than me. Wu Gang couldn't help but roar angrily. His whole body's true essence spewed out desperately, all of it pouring into the long spear in his hand, and immediately the spear's aura skyrocketed, spewing out a 10-odd feet of a spear's aura, causing all the spectators to be shocked. Kang Chan's face couldn't help but be gloomy. Wu Gang's cultivation after all surpassed him. If he couldn't win in a short time, the one who would lose would be himself. After thinking about it, Kang Chon's fist power increased again. The whole person was transformed into a purple fist. The unrivaled domineering aura rushed straight to the sky, and the volatile energy swept through the 8 directions. Both sides were instantly caught in a tangle, and it was difficult to tell the winner from the loser for a while. The crowd outside the arena began to cheer. This battle was unexpectedly wonderful. Before this, no one thought that Kang Chon could have the strength to fight with hegemonic warrior Wu Gang. But now the crowd witnessed a miracle. A silent and nameless youth had strength comparable to that of the great Tang 7 warriors, which left everyone dumbstruck. This is a heyday ore, not only for the great Tang cultivation realm, but also for the entire flood cultivation realm. People couldn't help but sigh. This generation of youths seemed to be far beyond the past. One must know that before this, for the great Tang cultivation realm to be able to have one young expert like the imperial capital, 4 would have been a great deal. But this generation had seen a full 4, and if you counted the great Tang 7, this generation was definitely the most prosperous generation of the great Tang cultivation world. And some people couldn't even wait for these youthful geniuses to grow up. It would be a heyday for the great Tang cultivation world. Damn it, he's actually this strong. Outside the arena, Wu Fei, who was watching the battle, looked at the domineering figure in the arena with a resentful gaze. He hadn't expected Kang Chon to be so strong. Listening to the crowd around him cheering for Kang Chon, Wu Fei's heart was filled with resentment. This boxing technique is extraordinary. On a high building in the distance, Deng Yijian's brows were furrowed. This was the second time he had seen Kang Chon's hegemony fist. The compelling overbearing aura could be felt even from such a distance. To the side, Deng Yixian's gaze blazed as he excitedly said, "This is what makes it challenging." On another high building, Zhao Linga and the others were also watching the battle below with rapt attention. The little girl couldn't help but feel a little jealous when she saw Kang Chon's great display of power, and her little mouth mumbled, "The little white boy is famous this time, humph. For the sake of you helping this young lady to win, I won't take it out on you first." The old blacksmith's face was very ugly. Kang Chon's strength was beyond his expectation. From the current battle situation, Wu Gang was still at the disadvantage. Such a situation was very unfavorable to him. "Hey, old man, you're going to lose this time," the little girl reminded from time to time, causing the old blacksmith's face to become increasingly ugly. The blue-clothed old man at the side was a bit embarrassed. This bet was still facilitated by him. If he really let Kang Chon win, then he really lifted a stone and smashed his own foot. This kid is indeed good. The yellow-clothed old man had already appreciated Kang Chon, and seeing the battle below, he nodded slightly. The old blacksmith was instantly displeased with what he heard and said, angrily, "Old man, which side are you on?" The yellow-clothed old man immediately smiled bitterly. Zhao Wuji spoke at this time. "At the same level, he has the strength to fight me." The moment he said this, the few old men were immediately shocked. They didn't expect Zhao Wuji to give such a high evaluation. It's better to keep watching. Wu Gang has been pushed to his limit. The result of this battle will appear, the blue-clothed old man suddenly said. The crowd's gazes suddenly looked down to the martial arts arena below, only to see that Wu Gang's body suddenly glowed with silver light, and a fist-sized silver inner elixir slowly flew out of his body, emitting a piercing silver light that illuminated the entire martial arts arena. At this moment, the sun had already set, the sky was dark, and the crowd of cultivators watching the battle could only use their energy to watch the battle with their eyes. But the sudden appearance of the silver-colored inner elixir with a bright light shocked everyone. This is the inner elixir, Wu Gang's inner elixir. Is this the 8th turn silver elixir? It's really incomparably powerful, worthy of being a hegemonic warrior. Wu Gang has been forced out of his inner Dan. The result of this battle will be revealed soon. The 8th turn silver Dan is too strong. Kang Chon's chances of winning are slim. He hasn't crossed over to the Jidan stage after all. Outside the arena, People were exclaiming and talking. As this battle went on, Wu Gang finally couldn't help but sacrifice his inner Dan. This was the advantage of a Jiden stage cultivator, and also the biggest gap between Kang Chan and Wu Gang. Would this change the entire battle situation? The crowd all waited to see. On the martial arts arena, Wu Gang sacrificed the 8-turn silver Dan. The blazing light immediately illuminated the entire earth. At this time, the sun had already set, and the sky was originally very dark. But under the illumination of this silver-colored inner elixir, the surroundings were as radiant as could be, as far as the eye could see.